Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Professor Ming's Strategic Insights. Just a few days ago, that Beijing announced they just extended an invitation to Ms. Zheng Liwen, the chairperson of the Nationalist Party, or the KMT Party in Taiwan, to visit Beijing from April the 7th to the 12th. The news brings about lots and lots of discussion and commotion in Taipei and elsewhere. So the question is, why now? Some suggest that Beijing does this at this time is because they want to block the arms sales, the United States arms sales to Taiwan. Well, that's true, but that's only part of the reason. Actually, if you probe a little bit further into the question, you'll notice that Beijing has layers and layers of consideration behind this move. Blocking the arms sales to Taiwan is one of them. In fact, the main purpose of this invitation or of this visit to Beijing, the chairperson Zheng's visit to Beijing, is to deal with the United States. Yes, you heard me right. In short, the main purpose for Beijing to do this is to deal with the United States or to deal with President Trump, to be exact. Because he's coming to Beijing, supposedly, in late or in mid-May, and Beijing wants to add one more card or add one more piece of chip to deal with President Trump. So you may wonder, what makes us think so? Well, in Beijing's eyes, or in the eyes of Beijing's leaders, Trump has been exercising pressure, a great amount of pressure upon Beijing ever since he returned to the White House. And that puts China in a very awkward position. Their chips or their cars are losing because Trump's moves. So they want to get something back. The first thing is, of course, President Trump's tariff war. It deals a heavy blow on Beijing's feeble economy. Despite that, Beijing fought back fiercely with the limitation or the restriction of exporting rare earth and selling American bonds. They can only reach a very uneasy truce for 1 year. So it is a big question for Beijing at the moment. The second thing is the Panama Canal, the harbors of the Panama Canal. Beijing has been working for decades to secure the control of two harbors, actually three harbors, of the canal, of the Panama Canal. After returning to the White House, President Trump has exercised pressure upon the Panamanian government to snatch the harbors away and to get control of them. And that's the second card that Beijing lost to Trump. The third thing is, earlier this year, the United States sent in troops to capture the president of Venezuela, Maduro, and who happens to be one of the strong allies that Beijing has in Latin America. And that's the third card being taken away by the United States. The fourth thing is the Iran war. The war is still going on, but it not only cut off 15% of China's crude oil from the region, but also it's a major disruption of China's strategic footprint in the region. And Iran, how should we put it? For several decades, Iran has been acting as an agent, as Beijing's agent in the region. The Iranians have been helping Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and the rebels in Iraq and in Syria to cause regional problems. And for Beijing, they are trying to open a new front in the Middle East to divert the United States' attention or to pin down America's attention and resources. So it's a strategic strong point for Beijing in the region, and that's what Iran is. Although the war is still going on, but Beijing's strategic footprint has been seriously disrupted, at least by now. We don't know whether it's going to come back or not, but anyway, it has been disrupted, and that's for sure. And the last is, of course, the Taiwan card. Beijing has been playing Taiwan as a card against the United States, but ever since the United States has learned the game from Beijing, they play the card backwards. So the United States has been upgrading its relations with Taiwan, be that made official relations or military cooperations or strategic cooperations or even high-end chips cooperation. So that's why the United States arms sales to Taiwan has met with a very strong protest from Beijing and that's the main reason. Not to mention the elevated level of cooperation among the United States, Japan, and Taiwan. So that's something that Beijing has in mind, and that's something they have to deal with. In concrete terms, Xi Jinping wants the following things from Trump, especially from this visit. First is the tariff war. They want Trump to either de-escalate the level of the tariff war or to stop it altogether. Second, they're hoping that Trump will lift the sanction on technological exchanges between the two countries, and also the ban on the sales of high-end chips to mainland China. And thirdly, to lift the ban on exchanges of talents, scholars and students and experts and so on and so forth. And the fourth one is to increase the level of cooperation between the two countries. They've been saying that the cooperation will benefit both, while the competition or a confrontation will hurt us both. So they want to increase the level of cooperation between the United States and China. The last thing they want from Trump is to lower or to de-escalate the level of cooperation between Washington, D.C. and Taipei. Official exchanges and, of course, military exchanges and military cooperations. And that's the fifth thing that they want from Trump. So now back to the original question. Why now? Why the invitation of Chairperson Zheng Liwen to Beijing at this moment? Of course, as we suggested, to block the arms sales to Taiwan is one of the reasons. And second, use this trip as a wedge to drive into Taiwan's political parties, especially between the Green Party and the Blue Party, namely the KMT Party and the DPP Party. So how will Beijing use Chairperson Zheng's Beijing trip to deal with Trump? How are they going to present the argument? Perhaps they can say this: look, now the chairperson of the KMT, the strongest and the biggest opposition party in Taiwan, is now paying a visit to Beijing, and they want peace, and we want peace with them too. So actually, we're quite peaceful, and we are not fighting a war, and they don't want to fight a war, neither do we. So maybe it's time for you to cut down the arms sales to Taiwan, since there's peace in here in the Taiwan Strait. You can cut down the arms sales both qualitatively and quantitatively, because there's peace in Taiwan. And secondly, it is you, Mr. President Trump, who promotes peace in the region, peace in the Taiwan Strait. And this problem has been plaguing the area for decades. And you're the only one, you're the biggest contributor to peace in the region. So you deserve a Nobel Prize. And if you want it, I'll be happy to nominate you. I will be happy to nominate you as the laureate of Nobel Peace Prize. And in order to consolidate that, shall we sign a communique for that? Perhaps we can say that the United States not only do not support Taiwan independence, but you can say a little bit more like you oppose Taiwan independence, so that if there's no Taiwan independence, then there will be no war. And you're the major contributor to this peace. Again, so that you're the major contributor. And like I said, a fourth communique. So it doesn't matter whether President Trump will accept it or not. Beijing has one more card in their hand to deal with Trump. Should President Trump really pay a visit to Beijing in mid-May? Well, that's something we ought to keep an eye on. That's all I want to share with you today. I hope you liked today's program. And please share it with your friends and subscribe to it if you haven't done so. And do remember to click the icon bell so that you can get an on-time notification. That's all for today. I'll see you next time.